Pushing balls over 230 miles an hour ball speed has been and still is the #1 topic in the world long drive community. To understand how crazy it actually is that so many guys are breaking 230 right now and even 235 and so on and so forth, we have to look a couple years back, because the guy who really kicked all of this off was Berkshire. On November 24th in 2019, he did this.
MIT. That just sounded really friggin' hard.
For the first time ever, a man on this planet broke 230 ball speed, and he went 230.2. Back in the days, it was with an XR16 head. And I want to talk more about these and also these here in just a little bit and how all of this is actually possible. So stay tuned and keep watching. 230.2, a crazy number. And I got back from a trip, I personally got back from a trip to Argentina because I was filming a TV show back in the days. I got very sick, came back and went 209 in my first session. But that motivated me to keep going, to pump up the speed. And then at some point in March 2020, just before COVID hit, I did this in my studio over here.
Oh, der geht auch so. Und sogar noch gut.
What a ball flight, huh? And now you see the number 230, and eventually it was a 230.4. But people were like, well, he was hitting on his GC2, and we don't know if that's an accurate number, and so on and so forth, because back in the days I still had my GC2 and didn't have the quad yet. So I had to prove myself. So I decided to fly down to Miami to see Bobby Bradley in his shop, the exact same place Berkshire hit his 230.2, and I did this.
We got Martin hanging out at the shop here in West Palm Beach. Oh shit! If anybody had any fucking doubt right there.
Fuck me! Yes!
If anybody had any freaking doubt, right there, 231.9. And that was tremendous because I was still hitting the Kinetics Velocity LD30 Plus shaft. We've all been hitting the Volvic AMT balls that are not in retail. It was the competition ball from 2019. So we've all been hitting that one because it was just the fastest one off the face. That's been one of the components to breaking these speed records. And that was pretty much the one for quite some time. But we've been also hitting outdoors. This was during my first tournament after COVID. I went 231 with a top flight competition ball on my quad at the event in Salt Lake City, which I also ended up winning. It was a tight cut down the middle, also found the grid, so this, up to that point, was one of the best shots I've ever hit. But, well, Kyle kind of did the same thing outdoors. He's been prepping for the World Championships, I guess, out there at the One Stop Power Shop. And then he got a number. 231.3, and that's also been with a competition ball. So, well, we didn't really know because on the quad display itself, foresight or the device is rounding. And we don't really know. I mean, 231 is exactly the same as 231.3, right? So we really don't know what the fastest ball was because the ball speeds between the quad and the trackman are pretty much identical. But then up to this point, my 231.9 was still the fastest ball ever measured on this planet. But then, December 22nd, Berkshire, the current world champ, at that point, till one-time world champ, soon to be two-time world champ, hit this nugget, again, at Bobby's shop.
Live in West Palm Beach, Berkshire. was set, you knew it was just a matter of time. Bang,
233.4 miles an hour. The current record at that point in time. Still hitting the AMT balls. But then he kept pushing and pushing. Kyle was on a run. He kept getting better and better, and he had his whole team and Good with him, again at the same shop, to push it even further. He was raising the bar more and more. And everything was about Kyle, because he was really the only guy doing exactly that at that point in time. I think he just signed with Cobra at that point in time as well. So they designed a head that was really freaking fast, because in terms of club head technology, what you have to know is these retail heads are a lot faster than the actual long drive heads. Reason being is we hit it so much faster. These heads have to withstand all of that speed. So they're built a little bit colder, whatever you want to call it, but more durable, so they don't break in 2 swings. These over here, these heads are amazing. They're super fast, and especially for club speeds up to 130 miles an hour, these are way better than the long drive heads. But at some point, well, you can't really use them anymore because they keep breaking. They're not designed for those speeds. The long drive heads are designed for those speeds, but, well, they're not as fast. With this head, if this would be built, this right here is 8 degrees of the current paradigm. If this exact head would be built at, let's say, 4 degrees aloft, this head would be a lot of fun for like 5 swings, and then would break. And that's not what we want, so, well, we stick with this head and have to go through that little bit of pain that it's a little bit slower. Also, these heads, the retail heads, are obviously not really built for these balls, which are way too hard. And those two combined with that extra speed, well, did this. Two-time world champ. Kyle Berkshire, 234.4. And all the good went completely crazy. So he was the man out there, but he didn't stop. He pushed it even further. During a video shoot with a net return, and I actually came by back there in Dallas after they were done and witnessed the number on the quad. Kyle hit a Pro V1 left dash, and I think in the video before he already hit the Pro V1 left dash as well, which is pretty much the hardest and fastest ball out there in the market that, well, retails. These don't retail, right? But the Pro V1 left dash retails. And it's pretty much the hardest you can find. And this is what he did with that ball out on Bryson's quad in Dallas.
We're live at the D. Shambino's house. Kyle Berkshire trying to break the ball speed record. 234.4 is the number. Yeah!
Oh, no way!
Boom! 236. That is a number. And everybody went crazy. But it was on a quad, it was a different system, so he did the same thing on a Trackman at One Stop Power Shop, and again, in a speed session, boom! He went 235.1. He was happy. And then, he did it again, just pushing it a little higher, at 236.2 on a Trackman. But then, things happened. Things changed. New people, well, tried the sport and learned from what Kyle was doing, learned from what everybody was putting out there. Because back in the days when I started long drive, nobody really put things out on YouTube or wherever, because it's been such a small niche, and now it's growing. Also, especially with World Long Drive coming back and being back on TV, it's growing. And Ryan Gregnol, one of my good friends, he is 40 years old. He's 40 years old. He's from Canada, and he's around in the long drive community for a long time. So he's been hitting like mid-teens, I guess, for a pretty long time, to 15 ball speed. And then at some point, he decided to take all of this a little bit more seriously and treat the whole thing like a business and actually work for it. And what he did is absolutely tremendous. Let's see if he broke it. He was out there in Canada in his indoor bay. It's 11:27, by the way.
Still together.
And Jeff Gavin was with him, multiple world champ in the Masters division, and he was asking himself, how's that head still together? And I explain to you in a minute how that's even possible. So he takes his time, and now he's swinging it. Boom.
Yeah! Go!
235.6, correcting the 236.6. A new world record was just set, and this was last week. And there is more to come. Seb Twaddell from Australia, a young gun, just brand new to the sport, an actual pro golfer with aspirations to make it on the PGA Tour, then transitioned over to long drive, and also with the help of my coach, of Lee Cox, and his team around him in Australia, he completely transitioned his golf swing, his very powerful golf swing, over to actually playing long drive and utilizing all the power elements that are possible. And well, I mean, Lee, if you hear this, I would appreciate if you don't make these boys too good and give them too many tips, because these boys are getting too fast. That guy has such an advantage. He's 6'6", 270 pounds heavy probably. He's a beast. He's a machine. And now as his mechanics get better and better, he's putting up faster and faster ball speed. So what he did just 10 hours ago, so crazy. Like Ryan Gregnol went 236.6. Then just a couple of days later, Seb Twaddell went 236.7 out there in Australia. And he had the current world record. He had the world record for about 6 hours. For 6 hours. He was the world record holder because Kyle saw that Ryan Gregnol broke his record, and Kyle wants to be the fastest man on the planet. Absolutely wants to. It's like, it's one of his, I have a feeling, I don't know. I mean, we're rivals out there on the grid, obviously. It's not like we're enemies in life or whatever you want to call it. But also at the same time, I get along with him very well, but it's not like we're best friends out there on tour and we go out together every night, just like I do with, for example, Josh Koch and Ryan Gregnol, Tyga, and all the boys, right? I enjoy being very social when I'm out there because I just enjoy spending time with all these boys because they're also my friends for life. But Kyle is not part of that group. And that's all cool, and that doesn't have to be that way. But at the same time, we're not like when we see each other, we greet each other, we talk to each other, but it's not like we would spend a lot of time with each other in our free time, if that makes sense, right? So I have a lot of respect for him. Because he's really been raising the bar. He's been pushing the sport so much over the last couple of years, with him starting 2019, winning the World Championship, and setting a lot of trends. Also in terms of equipment, he and his coach, Bobby Peterson, went a little bit softer in shafts and like really being the first guys to try it, I guess. I don't know, maybe back in the days, there's probably like these legends in the sport like Mike Dobbin, Mitch Dobbin, Jason Zubak, like the GOAT. Jason Zubak, like for you boys out there, Jason Zubak is the GOAT. He's got 5 world titles, the most ever achieved until now. So in essence, 236.7 was the number, and then Kyle went back to the shop because he wanted to break it.
Yeah, Mr. Gavin, Robbo, hello.
And there he is. By the way, look at the ball. Let's stop it right here real quick. Look at the ball. We're back with an AMT.
That's the height I like. I like the height. I like the height. Kyle Berkshire! Let's go!
Let's go. 236.8, the new number. So we went from 236.6 over 236.7 to 236.8 in 3 days. like records in the very beginning took like months to get broken. And now it's only been a matter of hours or just a few days. What people don't know is in the meanwhile, I was working and I felt that I was pretty fast this day because look at what I did. 233, 234.7, 233, 233.8, 231.8, 234, 235, 235.4. And this was the moment in time when I checked my club face and I saw that this 235.4 ball was a toe strike. And I knew if I get everything right now and line it up perfectly, a new world record will be set 100%. I knew that I had one last Volvic AMT in my drawer. So these over here were the ones that I was hitting so far. I mean, look how they look. Like there's nothing on it. Can you zoom in on this? Like zoom in on this. Right there. Look how they look. I mean, they're completely messed up. They're still fairly fast, but a fresh ball is faster, like a lot faster. And when I was redoing my whole studio over here, I found one. I don't know how I did it, but I found one brand new, fresh Volvic AMT. And I mean, look at the difference of these two. Look, you can tell that this ball is probably a little bit better than this. And interestingly, Bobby Bradley was, because they've been recording the session live, he was saying on the live stream that the ball is about to heat up. And I don't know what he exactly means by that, because yes, it's heating up. It's literally heating up. So it's getting hotter. So you can actually feel it. But in my experience, that does not make the ball faster. That actually makes the ball a little bit slower at some point, because it's like, I don't know, is it getting softer? It doesn't respond that well to the face anymore. So I had this fresh one right here, and I knew I only have 1 or 2 shots, because the freshies are only really faster for 1 or 2 shots. And I teed it up, and also what I did is, at this point, I switched shafts. So usually, when you look at this, I'm utilizing this shaft over here. I don't know, can you see the length? Yeah, zoom in on this. So this right here is a 47.5 inches shaft that I usually use in competition, because it doesn't really make that much sense to me to go full length, because the current balls we hit in competition, the Bridgestone balls, respond better at a little bit slower speeds, like mid 220s anyways. So with a little bit shorter shaft, I simply have a little bit more control. So what I did is I switched to the 48 full length, because it's just a little bit faster, right? That ½ inch might make a difference. That's what I thought. I usually always practice with this because I want to use what I use in competition. But for this, I use this one over here. And I switched that. Then I actually hit a couple balls in between to just like get used to the new length. But then I knew that after a little break, that when I tee this up and I connect it perfectly, something's gonna happen. And this is what happened. No bad language, boys.
Shut the fuck up.
There you have it. We went 239.3. It was a slice, by the way. It went 405 yards, but who cares, right? This is about speed. That's why it's so important. Every single one in this group is pushing each other to create higher speeds, because eventually what that does is, like, as you raise the maximum speed up, you also raise the average speed up. So eventually this speed reserve you build up helps you in competition to just smooth it 225, 226, whatever is needed for the current ball or conditions. So that's what it's really about. That's what the training method is about. But it's so cool to see like how all this is happening and the dynamics of it, and how Kyle was pushing everybody to get faster. Then Ryan Gregnol came in, then Seb Twaddell came in, basically hitting 236.7 with a drill, just being in the sport for less than a year, I guess. And well, now this happened and I connected it absolutely perfect. Couldn't have hit that ball any better. And now, obviously, wanted to break 240, yeah? So I knew I had a couple more shots on this, and I gave it a shot. But that 1 or 2 shots extra was too many shots, because I pounded one and it went 222. And the reason is this. Can you see this? Can you zoom in? I don't know if you can see this, but there is a crack right in the face. Yeah, that's a story about this, and I'm very, very confident that 240 is gonna get broken at some point. Not sure if it's gonna be me, because I have a feeling like everything went so absolutely perfect. Like fresh ball, connected perfectly, warmed up, in the heat, longer shaft, perfect face, like everything absolutely perfect. And well, at some point, still, it's gonna happen. I'll try to be the one, but Kyle, Brian Gregnol, Seb Twaddell, Justin James also hit over 230 ball speed. Or maybe even someone else. We'll see. The cool part is, there's a lot of things going on in the community of World Long Drive, and this is so much fun to see us boys get out there on the grid and do something based on this skill set, but a little bit differently. Because we also have to square the face, hit the grid, and hit it as far as possible. And I can't wait for this World Long Drive season to basically end at the World Championship in Atlanta, building up throughout the season. A lot of great matches to come, and I can't wait to crush it with you guys out there at all these amazing venues. World Long Drive is back. I can't wait. Let's go.